Virtual switching is an important part of offering, a virtualized environment. Obviously, it allows you to be able to connect virtual machines together within the actual virtualized environment itself. So, in order to be able to support a lot of the different capabilities we're going to talk about through our cloud platforms, we have to really understand where virtual switching fits. A virtual switch is really software. It's going to sit on the hypervisor itself, and it provides virtual machine-to-machine communication. Cisco offers two different virtual switches. There's the Nexus 1000V. This is designed for more traditional Nexus switching environments. And then there's the Application Virtual Switch, or AVS. And this is used with the Nexus 9K and ACI. The Nexus 1000V is built to be able to support a number of different environments out there. So we can leverage it within Red Hat KVM. We can leverage it within Microsoft's Hyper-V. We can also use it within VMware ESX. So the 1000V is supported across all these different platforms. It leverages something called the VSM, or Virtual Supervisor Module. And this particular piece, really, if you want to think about it as a switch, it's kind of like your switch's controller card. It's really the supervisor engine, if you will. It actually connects to a virtual Ethernet module, which we're seeing down there on the servers at the bottom. That particular component is, the line card, if you will, of your virtual switch. This is going to allow you to be able to have that direct VM to VM communication, and it allows you to be able to then provide policy and configure all the different capabilities, segmentation, security, and things like that within the actual server itself. So that's how the different components work together. The network administrator basically configures the VSM. The VSM then just sends out the configuration to the virtual Ethernet modules, allowing you to be able to then use the template process that we've talked about before to be able to create those standard configurations. And then, of course, you can leverage, the different platforms out there, UCS Director, all the different various solution sets that we've talked about before to be able to manage and control how you're going to operate the Nexus 1000V. In addition, we've got the AVS. So the AVS is really focused on providing a solution set for ACI environments. So this is an example of a very simple ACI setup. You've got two spine switches, you've got three leaf switches, and then you've got the AVS, which is then loaded on the hypervisor itself. So the benefit of the AVS is it allows you to be able to extend the ACI policy model, which we talked about in previous lessons, into the actual virtual switch itself. So being able to control how these different VMs operate and move between hypervisors or hosts in this environment means that policy then follows with it. So the AVS allows you to be able to integrate it directly within this environment. So there's two major components within this. The AVS distributed virtual switch that gets loaded into, in this case, VMware's vCenter, and that allows you to be able to then integrate that within the VMware solution. The VMware vCenter is connected to the APIC itself. That allows the APIC to be able to send policy out to the AVS, so you can control how these different virtual machines are connected. So in order to know where the virtual machines live, the APIC has to be connected to the hypervisor so it can see where they're at in the environment. You also have the ability to be able to have the AVS loaded within vCenter, which again is going to give you that connectivity and be able to control the virtual switching modules, which would sit on the hypervisor itself. The AVS kernel module sits on the ESX host, so that you actually load that as a core component within the actual hypervisor itself. So you'll load it through a process that you can actually integrate it within VMware's vCenter. It's really fairly straightforward getting it loaded. You have a agent called an OpFlex agent that runs on the AVS switching module that sits on the hypervisor, and this allows for communication to the ACI fabric. So you'll notice in the description, we're showing how this allows the AVS to be able to communicate to that leaf in the ACI environment. Now, one thing that you may have noticed is different here is you don't have a virtual switch module like you had with the Nexus 1000V. That's because the actual fabric itself within ACI is really acting like that quote-unquote supervisor module. So it's a simpler design, and it gives you the ability, again, to be able to support all those policy and profiles that you would have within the ACI environment. Benefit here, much better performance, scale through the platform, and again, it looks like a leaf node from the perspective of an ACI, from the perspective of the ACI solution.